This is Tabula Rasa reviewing another comic. We are grading off of these categories. If I like it, it gets a star. If I really like it, it gets a star plus. It's going to be out of 10, 5 being I will recommend it to other people, and anything above 5 means I really like it, and anything below 5, well, you get the idea. So today we are going to be reviewing 5,000 kilometers per second by Manuel Flor and Jamie Richards. This is a slice of life book, but if you are familiar with the genre from the Japanese side, this is nothing like that. Apparently, the winner of the 2011 Golden Cat of the Angoulême Comics Festival, for those who don't know, and I just found out, Angoulême is the second largest comics festival in Europe. Third in the world, Lucca Comics and Games in Italy is the biggest in Europe and second largest in the world. And you might be wondering, what is the biggest comic festival in the world? Comic-Con? No, it actually belongs to Japan's Comic-Con. Of course, it's Japan. So, what about my review of it? Well, if you want to find out more, do the YouTube thing, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Now, moving on. The summary of this story on Comixology, not sponsored, tells us this. This is the winner of the prestigious grand prize of the 2010 Angoulême Comics Festival, 5,000 kilometers per second, tells or almost tells the love story between Piero and Lucia, which begins with a casual glance exchanged by teenagers across the street through a window and ends with a last desperate hookup between two older, sadder, one-time lovers, executed in stunning watercolors and broken down into 5 chapters set in Italy, Norway, Egypt, and Italy again. Kilometers per second managed to refer to Piero's and Lucia's actual love story only obliquely, focusing instead on its first stirrings, then episodes in their lives during which they are separated, narrative twists that makes it even more poignant and heart-wrenching. 5,000 kilometers per second is another delicate graphic novel masterpiece from Europe. So what do I think? Now, black and white and color. The use of color in this comic or graphic novel is highly stylized. The simple watercolor look makes it abstract almost, not typical of what you would see in the American style or even in manga. It makes it unique and certainly very artistic, but its use in this medium of a graphic novel, though it is unique and novel and isn't for the everyday consumer or fan of comic books or graphic novels. It stands out because its art style, right, is something that you don't see. But as far as comics goes, I have to give it half a star. Panels and expression. The panels are simple and square. I don't know if this is typical of comics of Europe. I don't read too many of those, but I should. But in parallel to most American comics, simple panels don't mesh together on the page. If each panel was a page, you would most likely get the same experience as if you read it in the comic book. That it's shown. I can't say the panels and the expression of the story through the panels were anything to write home about, so for this one, I have to give it no stars. Character and dialogue. The characters talk like they were real people, so that's good. You don't see that too often. And in a story with nothing fantastical, it is refreshing to say at the very least. These are people. They feel like someone you would meet and learn about their lives. But I don't think the art does it any good. I would often find myself going back to pages and rereading panels and rereading pages just to make sure of who is who, which is something you don't really want in a graphic novel. You go back because you didn't get enough information or you think you missed something, not because you don't know which character is which. So for this one, I have to give it half a star. Theme and execution. The theme itself for this story is life. That's what 5,000 kilometers per second is about. Life. The ups, the downs, right? It portrays life. right? And if this was made into a movie, it would be done so masterfully, as long as you get a good director and whatnot. But how people have gone through the world, and even though we have love, right? It is not as simple and it is not enough. So in this part, the theme, I really did enjoy it. So I give it 2 stars. Story and execution. The story, according to the summary, says it has a narrative twist that makes even more poignant and heart-wrenching. I didn't say that. We had a story about 2 people and the connections between them, right? And the life that we see that they lived. In a sense, and in that sense, right, it is a masterpiece of a story. But I have failed to see how it was told well because it was a comic book. So it gets a star. And I will explain the overall score. So, this masterpiece and winner of the 2011 Angoulême Comics Golden Wildcat Grand Prize winner only got 4 stars from me. Does that mean it's bad? No, it doesn't. All that means is that I, Tabula Rasa, did not like it. And I don't think I can personally recommend it. But clearly it is something that got people, or at least the judges for this grand prize, to recommend it highly. Otherwise, they never would have gotten the grand prize. So what is the difference between me, a simple plebeian, and the judges, who I have no idea who they are? They might be, snooty art types or other comic book people. And I think the big difference is this. This comic book is a comic book made for artists. It pushes what one expects from the medium. You don't really see comics being painted like this. And if you're an American comic reader, you don't see stories like this often. Can you imagine if they put this plot in an Archie comic? Oh my god, mind blown, right? And I think this is what people would consider high art or high literature. It's supposed to be brainy. It's supposed to make you think, introspect, as a pretentious attitude, because you can clearly make this entire book, each panel, an exhibit in a gallery, and it would fit right in at a museum. And in my personal opinion, that's why it fails as a comic. This comic book almost circles back to early woodcuts like God's Man from Lynn Ward or Max Ernst's collage novel A Week of Kindness. And from that part, it's like, oh yes, it's fancy, it works, it's high art. But the thing is, a comic has to become more than the sum of its parts. That's what makes it successful. And if there's no real difference between looking at each panel individually, which you can do via digital, and looking at the panels, how they fit on the page, does it really succeed? And if it doesn't, I don't think it works as well. So, if anything, this feels like a storyboard. It feels like a draft of something bigger that, you can see the potential there. Like I said before, this could be a movie. And yet it is here as a graphic novel. Nothing against the writer or the artist, but that's what it is. And it doesn't tell the story better because it's a graphic novel. I mean, the story is there, the themes are present, the visuals. I mean, he may be a great artist, but in this case, I'm not really sure. So that's why it got 4 stars from me. I hope you did enjoy this. And for those of you who are still wondering why don't I just show the whole thing and why do I keep blurring out images? Well, that's because, nobody likes a dirty pirate except, in comic books and stuff. And in fiction, really. But in real life, nobody likes a dirty pirate. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Tabula Rasa reviewing comics. This time it was 5,000 kilometers per second. If you do enjoy this content, hit that like, subscribe, do the YouTube thing. It does help, or so I'm told. Ciao.